So myself, I'm Ben Rudman. I lead the integrated partner teams for AppsFlyer, the global leader in attribution, and I'm joined today by some of the top growth app marketers in the space. So to kick it off, I want to ask each of them to both introduce themselves, the app that they work on, the company they work for, as well as what is your key growth tactic and focus for the rest of 2018. So please, Bilal.
Sure. Hey, my name's Malone, and I work for Audible. It's an Amazon company. Our service is an audiobook subscription, and then I lead the team overseeing our member acquisition and conversion across all services and platform. I actually came all the way from Uptown New York, so I hope this session is valuable to you guys. And then my biggest focus for the year we're going forward is actually, because I'm overseeing different channels, with different platforms, including our mobile apps, our websites, and including our presence within the Amazon ecosystem. So the main question for me is how I can actually understand the multi-touch attribution and how I can actually design a flow that I can actually just clearly see the impact from each of our move and act. So that's basically my biggest focus for the year.
My name is Josh. I used to be based out of Baidu's headquarters building in Beijing, doing global marketing there, primarily for our ad platform, Do Ad platform, and also for some of our 2C apps. And more recently, I relocated to Sunnyvale. Baidu has a few offices there, and I'm essentially in charge of business development, also for Do Ad platform, and for the BD strategy for our, I would say it's a screen recording and editing and live streaming app called Do Recorder, as well as some other 2C apps. And for 2018, the main focus of ours is to figure out a way to continue to scale with organic growth, which is our main tactic.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marcie Comer. I'm VP of Marketing for Dosh. We're based out of Austin, Texas. We are essentially a marketplace that connects merchants to consumers using behavioral stimuli in the form of cash. And I would say that our biggest focus for growth in 2018 is really getting consumers to transact at those very merchants that are on our platform.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danny Spira. I handle product marketing for Yahoo Finance. And, that obviously includes for us user acquisition efforts. So, for 2018, our biggest focus is on driving what we call cost per week to retained user. And for us, that gives us a good sense of, it basically blends CPI with the engagement. And, that is kind of our focus on driving quality users for the apps.
Hi, my name is Christy Barger. I'm really excited to be here today, and probably even more excited that I didn't get caught in the rain from my hotel walk to over here. But I am a senior programmatic demand lead for MoPub, a company by Twitter, and MoPub is the leading monetization platform for app publishers and developers. And what I do on a day-to-day basis is work with marketers, consulting them on their mobile programmatic strategies. Where we're focused in 2018 is building out this marketer community. We have a dedicated team called the Marketer Program Team at MoPub, and this year we launched our regional community events called the Thought Exchanges.
So thank you, everyone. So prepping for this panel, as you know, each app has its own unique challenges, but one of the key themes was user quality. And you each had different growth tactics and focus for this year. And I really want to understand more about that experience internally that led you to focus on user quality as one of your key KPIs. So how did that discussion go internally? Did you have to get buy-in? What was that experience like? Maybe we'll just go down the line here.
Sure. So for us, I think it's comparatively straightforward because our business model is kind of clear, and also typically our marketing strategy or the KPI or approach should actually build off of the business goal or strategy. So because our main focus for acquisition is to acquire more members into our funnel. So the quality of the member, meaning how long they will stay with us, how active they are, and their lifetime value will actually help us define what is success from an acquisition or marketing perspective. So that's how we actually measure our marketing effort. Basically, it's cost per acquisition, but that's for member. It's not only basically how much it costs us to acquire an app. That doesn't matter to us. They have to sign up with our free trial or direct membership. They have to stay with us. They have to use us, and then the final LTV will actually define how we measure our success there.
Great.
Yeah, I think for us, so essentially Baidu has actually launched a series of different products over the past, I would say roughly almost 9 years, focused on markets outside of China. And initially we started with utility type of apps. So we had one called Do Battery Saver, we had one called Do Speed Booster, ES File Explorer, and others like that. And more recently, we've been focused on content-driven apps. And Do Recorder, which is the app that I mentioned, that's, I guess, kind of our main thrust for 2018, is more squarely focused on organic user acquisition as a strategy. And the reason that we landed on that growth tactic is because it becomes, as you scale to a large size, it becomes increasingly difficult, I would say, to maintain that retention rate and the quality of users. And we found that for previous apps as well. So from the very outset of this app strategy, Do Recorder, we focused on making sure that the user experience is putting that, first and foremost. That's the most important thing to us. Doing, I would say, ASO strategies to essentially increase the visibility of the app in app stores and then drive conversion rate once people land on that app store page. And then finally, the most important thing is, of course, being very cognizant of user feedback and slotting that in appropriately to our product development cycle.
At Dosh, I think in the beginning we were doing a ton of paid acquisition to try to drive that first bump of active users on the app. And the way that we did it is we actually went to AppsFlyer's page where they had like top 20 best sources for user acquisition, and we just started picking them off one by one and trying tests in each of those different channels. And for us, we measured user quality by churn and then the amount of transactions that they were doing per user. So that was really helpful for us in determining the actual quality of each channel.
Great.
And yeah, for us at Yahoo Finance, we started off at, with CPI as our high-level metric, and we found quickly that just gave, really an overview of what we were seeing, but we couldn't essentially measure the impact our creative had as well. So we switched to what we're calling the cost per week to retained user. And we measure everything from week 1 through week 4, that retention in app, and we're able to measure this by all of our different channels. So across programmatic, across all the ad networks, across our preloads, as well as we're trying to get there with SEM, not there yet, but that's really kind of how we measure our growth and help turn monthly active users into daily active users.
So Christy, what are some of the recommendations that you'll make to ad marketers to help them scale?
Sure. So there's several areas in which they can scale, and one would be buying across MoPub. So at MoPub, we reach 1.5 billion unique devices. And so we have both the reach and scale in a mobile in-app environment. And so we definitely work with marketers in helping them, educate them on that reach and scale, the formats that are successful that would be driving the performance that they're looking for, as well as international expansion.
Great. So one of the key themes additionally is just these are large apps or high growth apps that are happening in the ecosystem. We all want our user experience to be perfect and have 100% retention. We know that's near impossible. But what are some of the strategies and how do you plan to incorporate re-engagement as part of your growth and keeping those user retentions high?
So for us, I think there are many ways for us to engage our customers or members. So I think the primary ways we've been trying to test into or actually do more. One is push notification is really a useful channel for us for engagement. The other one is probably also for it's unique to us, which is audio insertion, because we're an audio content company, and then customers, when they engage with us, they don't necessarily look at their phone or actually pay attention to the device itself. So they listen to the content. So we sometimes also actually create certain audio insertion messages so that the customers don't have to do anything, but they just, this is part of their experience. And then we can deliver that key message we want them to actually know seamlessly. So that's something we're testing into, especially, right now we're also migrating our sort of service from the existing app ecosystem to Alexa or some other speaker systems. So that becomes a very big channel for us as well. So those things actually we've been using pretty often, and then we find success there.
Well, I haven't heard that one. That's great.
Yeah, so we don't really do retargeting in that sense, because our app, so Do Recorder, it's effectively social by nature. It is a screen recording, editing and live streaming app. So it has this kind of virality baked into the app itself. So what we do is instead we actually do co-branding partnerships, for example, with hopefully big game publishers. And basically co-brand on their channels along with ours. And also we can do, for example, in-game branding of our app as well, if our partners are amenable to that. And this is not really exactly retargeting, but it's one arm of the organic growth strategy. And of course, people share a Do Recorder by word of mouth as well.
At Dosh, we look at the primary KPIs for us would be first credit card link. So when you sign on to the platform, you connect your credit card. But then the very next thing is, are you transacting? And then how frequently are you transacting? How much are you spending at these merchants? So when we bring on like an ExxonMobil, for example, success for them is really measured in how fast we can activate across their different cohorts of customers. And for us, what that looks like is getting the message out to people that that this merchant offer is relevant to. Hopefully all of you are buying gas at ExxonMobil today. And then based on your behavior, time of day, how much you are filling up, we are then looking at, and this is sort of future work for us as well, they're by no means complete, but how can we get you to enhance your purchase the next time, spend more frequently, choose Exxon, go one more block down the street versus turning into Shell, which is right next to your house.
For us at Yahoo Finance, one of the things we've done is we've targeted lapsed users on Facebook, and we've served them with ads that essentially target their behavior. And by targeting D3 lapsed users, we've been able to drive that re-engagement. We've also used push notifications, as Bo said. Certainly, those help drive up the daily active users as well.
And Christy, you had some great examples about using specific re-engagement partners across MoPub.
Yeah, definitely. So re-engagement is just one part of a marketer's ad strategy. We're seeing marketers put their budgets into 3 different areas: search, social, and programmatic. And within the programmatic space, we deal with user acquisition campaigns, re-engagement, and a little bit of branding. And within that re-engagement space, the vertical that we're seeing the most spend come from is e-commerce. And so these marketers are coming to MoPub again because of our reach and scale and our large number of uniques. And one area that I've seen shift a little bit is that marketers will tend to work with one DSP that specializes in retargeting technology, maybe another DSP that's performance-based, and maybe a third that's brand or social. So it really is going to be dependent upon those marketers. But the landscape's changed a little bit with performance DSPs now starting to support retargeting technology in an effort to offer better solutions and to capture those additional ad budgets.
One that's dear to me is leveraging partnerships for growth. And maybe, Danny, you talked about Oath and some of the work that you're doing with Samsung, and I know each of you have done some hints into some of the brand partnerships you've done. I'd love to hear that experience, Danny, and as well the rest of the...
Absolutely. So recently, Oath, which is the parent company of Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Sports, Yahoo News, and so forth, Oath actually struck a deal, a partnership with Samsung. And that actually has helped us get our premium content preloaded onto the S9 and the S9 Plus, as well as a few other smartphones in the US. And for us, that has really helped us kind of take the next step in our in our growth efforts. And so far, so good. It's been around for about a month now, and that's been a big deal for us.
So Bolong, I'm a Sonos listener. How did that partnership come to you with Audible and Sonos? Did it have an impact? How did that inform your strategy?
Probably you people ask for it. That's exactly what happened. So we are hearing basically a lot of our customers are asking for a Sonos partnership because it's natural and intuitive. Also, this is one of the things that we find. We've tried all kinds of partnerships, but only those that feel really natural and intuitive work for us really well, like Sonos or Echo Bundle. Plus, I just want to make another point. You mentioned that a lot of the smaller companies, app companies, may not have that much resources, but I think probably for those people, they have better advantage to actually partner with Google or Apple in that ecosystem because they are trying to actually help you guys. So in the past, when we just started our app journey, we did a lot with Apple and Google just to get ourselves featured in the App Store, just to use their new features, and then so that it becomes a great partnership as well.
Wow. And Marcie, you mentioned Exxon as an example. When you're approaching retailers, and by the way, if there's any companies that want to partner with Dosh, please do so.
Yeah. Mark and Becky, I'll be looking for you later.
But we'd love to just hear how that program worked out and how do you pitch those experiences to the brand to grow both of your apps?
Yeah, it's super interesting. So I used to sit on the other side as the marketer buying advertising, and I was always looking for the new Twitter or what are the new avenues that I can do to actually diversify my spend and have a significant bump in my KPIs. And I came to Dosh because we actually are a pay-for-performance model, and you're actually able to see the transaction happening versus sort of directionally understanding what the impact is to your business. And so when I'm talking to these T1 merchants, what we're pitching is no tech implementation, and then also that we're actually hustling for them. And so the small things, which is super interesting to me, is like saying, okay, we're going to do an activation inside of your store in New York. We had Mattress Firm come onto the app, and we did an in-store activation at 2 of their stores, promoted it through social channels and inside of the app, targeted to customers surrounding that store. And we drove literal in-store traffic to them, and that's something they hadn't been able to do on their own, and they found really impactful.
That attribution is definitely difficult.
Yeah.
And Josh, you talked about sort of the coming from Baidu and some of the advantages, so the data and the leverage, the Baidu brand that you're able to have access to.
Sure. I think the thing that I would emphasize actually is the co-branding partnerships that we've carried out for Do Recorder.
On the gaming side.
Yeah, on the gaming side. So as I said before, essentially Do Recorder, the main thrust of our basically growth strategy for 2018 is organic growth. And we put the users first for this app. So it's important for us to find co-branding partners that can actually match the needs of our users. So when we first launched this app, I think it was around mid to late 2016. And it was essentially just a relatively bare-bones screen recording app. And we started to add more and more features based on user feedback. And it was adopted, although it wasn't initially specifically targeted to the mobile gaming community, but it was adopted by this community because there's a big segment that's interested in recording their games and streaming them. So we responded to feedback by adding, for example, live streaming features to YouTube, to Twitch, to Facebook. And in terms of where the partnerships come in, we wanted to basically, as a labor of love to the content creators, we wanted to create partnerships with games that they're actually playing. So we worked with, as an example, Survivor Royale, which is a NetEase IP. It's in the Battle Royale genre. And we did essentially an in-app promotion for them. We did a contest for our users. It was free for them. Essentially, if they live streamed Survivor Royale within our app, Do Recorder, then they had a chance to have their channel featured within our app. And it worked out because Survivor Royale actually inserted our own Do Recorders logo on in-game items, so on T-shirts and things like that. And they also promoted via social channels, and we did the same for them. And through that, we were able to generate a lot of impressions for Survival Royale, a lot of impressions for us, and importantly, a lot of clicks for them. So it was very beneficial. And I think more recently, we worked with SNK on a similar co-branding partnership on King of Fighters.
Wow. Yeah. Let me know if I can help on the partner side, introduce you to Disruptor Beam and numerous game companies that AppsFlyer works with. Let's make that happen. Sort of tying it together, how are you leveraging sort of creative assets to sort of tie your brand message to get user acquisition? And do you see any trends and formats that work really well with you or that you want to work on?
So we recently started to actually test into more and more videos because historically speaking, we've been using a lot of certainly from a format perspective, images and audio, and because we are an audio company. But we find that now the trend is basically people or the consumers, they are consuming more and more videos. They are more engaged in that sense. So we started with smaller places like the App Store. We started to actually add the video for the first time, the preview video for the first time. We didn't do that, even though it seems like a very simple thing. But we started to see more and more response and success from that. So that's the area we want to actually keep exploring.
Well, and Danny, I'm sure you don't go a day without a question around like crypto. How has this impacted Yahoo Finance? Are you leveraging this in your creative? And are you thinking about, what else are you thinking about of creative formats?
Absolutely. So back in November last year, we actually added enhanced crypto coverage within the Yahoo Finance app. And for us, it's been a big boon. Our key demo typically drives a little bit older, but for us, crypto has been, it's been great because it typically helps bring in a younger audience for us. And, that obviously helps us grow and scale and keep moving forward. Obviously, there's been some clampdowns on how you promote crypto across many of the channels, but for us, our crypto creative has been probably our top performing. And a few of the formats that have worked in particular have been 6 and 15-second portrait videos. Obviously, given the mobile platform, portrait is so naturally inherent to the user experience. Obviously gets your branding kind of front and center and as big of a format as you can possibly get. And, we've been able to basically resize, reformat, and leverage the existing creative we had and make it feel more natural into the user's mobile, their mobile experience.
Well, and Christy, what are you seeing across the MoPub ecosystem? What's trending in the format space?
Definitely. User-engaged formats are key. So marketers are looking for units beyond the standard banner unit. Engaging ad units like playables and native video are becoming key and part of ad strategies. Where historically we've seen more performance advertisers running with these, we're starting to see a shift where brand advertisers are starting to adopt them. We recently put together a case study with Pandora, who launched a native video campaign on our exchange. They were able to reach 6 million unique users and lower their re-engagement cost by 40%. So we know that these formats are really successful in driving the results for the advertisers.
Are you seeing a trend in playables as well?
Yes, definitely. Playables gears mostly towards casual gaming and hardcore gaming, just because of the aspect that it's a little bit more technical in the creative. But brand advertisers are starting to think about how they can do this, especially some of the consumer products, whether you're a pasta company where you're kind of connecting the dots with different pasta, or car companies where you might be driving within those units.
And thank you. So, thinking about the topic of fraud, it's something that we all had to bring up. We all had to talk about it as an ecosystem. How has the topic of fraud impacted your business? What are you looking at beyond just app install fraud, but just as your core business and business metrics? Both.
Yeah, sure. Because we're using a lot of paid media to drive our traffic, so fraud is actually one of the topics we care about. But from a business owner perspective, the way we manage it is we leverage the expertise of our media agencies to handle the tactic at a tactical level. But from a strategic level, we try to actually structure our cost structure around the downstream metrics. instead of just clicks or impressions or even download, but to member sign up, to member engagement, and some other downstream metrics. So we focus on basically identifying we call them high-value actions, and then we try to actually pass those to our agencies to actually say these are the actions we care the most.
Oh. And Marcie, you have a finance app, so I'm sure fraud is a very serious topic for you internally.
Yeah, we talk about fraud all the time, and we've actually had to build out a fraud team at our company to actually combat it. We see fraud coming in multiple ways, right? So we run promotions to get people to link a card, and we give them an incentive for that. We measure the quality of the consumer with some algorithmic science, and then allow them or disallow them onto the platform based on their quality. And it's like a hard line for a new company to actually draw to say, hey, you're not actually allowed on our platform, but it's one that really impacts our CAC and our valuation going forward. So it's an important part of our business.
And Christy, are you having discussions with publishers that want to come on to MoPub? How are you tackling fraud from the exchange side?
Yeah, so in desktop and mobile web, fraud is completely different than in in-app, and MoPub's focused 100% in-app. And so things or signals that were relevant in desktop, like bots, are just not relevant on the exchange. And these fraudsters are quick when it comes to mobile. And today we might be talking about fake users or attribution fraud, but they're so quick, tomorrow the landscape could completely change. And so at MoPub, we really care about having the highest quality supply out there. And so we have put together a three-pronged approach to really tackle these issues. So first, we have processes put in place where we vet all new publishers that are coming onto the exchange. Second, we have a large team of people. We're backed by Twitter's policy team, so a lot of people care about that inventory that's coming on board, as well as the existing supply that's on there. So a lot of different signals that we're constantly monitoring our traffic. And lastly, we have third-party partnerships put in place with companies like Forensic, Moat, IAS, because we want to ensure that we are delivering the best quality supply.
Well, so I know at AppsFly I had a lot of tough discussions about fraud in 2017 and this year. But looking forward, what are you guys excited about? What are you excited about? What do you want to try? What do you want to test and experiment? What do you want to use find that budget to do some more testing with? We're going to go down the line.
Sure. I think the earlier speaker, Esther, summarized it pretty well. The thing we're trying to do right now is to add diversification into our media, mix. We're trying to actually test into, for example, Pinterest, Snapchat, or some other, ad types or formats itself. Goes back to my original point. We're trying to actually figure out a multi-touch, or just to evaluate our channels just in general, so we can actually drop our cost, whereas to keep the growth coming.
I think for us, the thing we're most excited about is to find more valuable partners and co-branding partners in the gaming space, because we already, at this stage, essentially the app Do Recorder, it's relatively new, and for the most part, we've actually grown organically. That's been our strategy, and however, now we're growing at a pretty fast clip, around 4 million users organically per month. And we did actually recently surpass we passed by the, I think it's 31 million MAU milestone. And the lion's share of that is organic. So what we're excited about is also the challenge, which is how to continue this growth and hopefully remain on this organic trajectory. And I think a big part of that is going to be finding suitable co-branding partners. Yeah, Marcie?
Yeah, I think what's important for Dosh is, my colleague is here today, Michael Berliner, and he heads our growth team, which is one person. And so I think a big priority for us is to actually expand that team and enable them to run a lot faster. In a startup environment, as you grow your team and as it begins to scale, the priorities seem to shift from team to team, and really having that core group of a growth team that's focused on driving solid improvements to the KPIs every single day is what's ultimately going to drive success for our company.
And Danny?
Yeah, for Yahoo Finance, one of the things we're looking for going forward is leveraging in-app events and being able to re-engage users. It's obviously a lot easier to retain than actually bring in new users. So by leveraging in-app events and targeting those users elsewhere, it's really helping us bring in that in-app engagement and the constant daily active users that we are striving for. And I'd say one other thing, that we're kind of helping to measure is what metric we call DAU-WOW, which stands for daily active users divided by weekly active users. And for us, that helps really, it helps us benchmark the engagement week over week, and we're really pretty, really focused on that moving forward.
And Christy, last but not least, where should we be looking for growth in the future?
Yeah, I think Latin America. So I think Latin America is going to be big for us. We have individuals and offices in London, Singapore, and here in the States. And so we have a task force set up at exploring both from a supply and demand side opportunities in region. Right now, Latin America is around 14% of our traffic, and I foresee that growing.
Wow. I think that's the time that we have, but we're happy to do maybe one, two, nope, getting the signal. One question? One question? Anyone have a question? All right, we're getting killed on time. Well, we're back on track. Thank you very much. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you.